Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming to our first Second Saturday seminar. Many of you have been with us for TESOL Narratives and TESOL Conversations, and this is kind of a continuation of the same series under a new name. We're excited to have the name Second Saturday Seminars because you'll never forget when it is. It is the second Saturday of every month, and seminar doesn't have a theme attached to it, which means that we will be able to have all kinds of sessions, and we're going to be opening a call for proposals for that at our conference on November 4th. So we look forward to all of your proposals for Second Saturday seminars into 2024. We are looking for presentations, roundtables, brainstorming sessions, whatever it is that you would like to do in a Second Saturday seminar, we welcome your proposals. And we also hope to see everyone at our November 4th conference. Registration is now open, so please make sure that you get your membership up to date if it has lapsed and join us. We also have Dr. Barb Aris here with us today, who will be presenting on November 11th in the same forum. She'll be presenting brainstorming about brainstorming, and today she is also going to be working on a review of Dr. Kapur's presentation, which will be published in our first issue of our return to our newsletter, PTE Voices. PTE Voices has been defunct for a bit, but we are happy that we have a dedicated editor to PTE Voices now, and so you will see it coming to your inboxes regularly as we publish new versions of it. And of course, we welcome your submissions. Any short things that you would like to write about teaching that are relevant to the ESL people in the greater Philadelphia area, we're excited to have it. Now I'd like to introduce our presenter for today, Dr. Kirti Kapur. Dr. Kapur is a professor of English at NCERT in New Delhi, India, and she was also a Fulbright Nehru Academic and Professional Excellence Fellow in 2021, and for that she went to Hawaii Pacific University for 9 months. She is a specialist in curriculum and textbooks, and she's actually working on a national curriculum right now for India, and for that she's done quite a bit of research on using AI and ChatGPT that she's going to share with us today. She's also represented India all over the world at different conferences, symposia, and seminars. And so we are delighted to have Dr. Kirti Kapur here with us today. Dr. Kapur, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Will, for your kind words. Thank you so much. So shall I begin with my presentation slides?
Yes. And if anyone has questions, do you want them to say them or put them in the chat? What's the best way to do that?
Anyways, whatever way they feel comfortable.
Okay, well, I'll monitor the chat, and if any questions come up, I'll let you know.
Now I have to slide only.
Click play.
And play.
Play
this black thing is not going away.
Just a little
play.
bit.
Here it is. Play. Play.
There we go.
It's clear? Huh?
Very clear, yes.
I'm talking about AI, but I'm really afraid of technology because because it has really worked against me at number of number of incidents. Okay, before I begin with my presentation, I would like to thank I would like to begin by thanking PennTESOL East, the organizing committee, and Bill Albertson, Vice President and Interim President, for giving me the opportunity to share my views on the topic, the perils and opportunities of using AI for language learning. Why this topic came to my mind was, since, in India, we are developing national syllabus, and something about technology has to become part of the English language teaching syllabus. So an AI is something that we cannot ignore, and our national education policy has talked about it, that we have to have a kind of a balance between tradition and AI. So therefore our syllabus should look like that and should have space for all that. So I thought I will share my views with you and get to know more about this particular topic from uh, experts from across the world. So next is artificial intelligence and 21st century education. So AI is redefining education, the way it will be delivered, the way it will be assessed or experienced by the teacher and the students. We cannot remain static. The the world of the learners is changing very fast. So as experts, we cannot stand still. We really have to move with the times. So traditional roles of teachers, students, schools, administrations are undergoing shifts. Even if the shifts are very minor or less significant at the moment, but they are bound to be there. So we need to create a balance between technological innovation and human influence in education. That is what we feel, that we cannot ignore technology, but at the same time, human influence has to be there. Now, at the turn of the century, 21st century, there were two things that were happening. You see, technology was coming in a big way, right? And we were telling our schools, or we were as teachers, we wanted that computers should become part of the teaching learning process. Multimodal modalities should come into the classroom. And schools were trying to get computers, were trying to set up computer labs, and so that they could teach English language learning through computers. But it was happening at a very slow pace. When COVID-19 came, there was no choice in front of us. So we had to move to technology very fast, very quickly. So whatever was available with us, whether it was television, any media, television, radio, computer, Google Classroom, or smartphones, we try to get in touch with the students so that we can continue with their lessons. But it was not so easy. Now that we have learned our lessons, we have all of us have learned something about computers. All of us have learned about how to communicate online, how to give assessments online, and how to give assignments online. So we are still using it. We are in that hybrid mode. But at the same time, when AI is coming, and we have not yet revised our curricula, AI needs to find space in the curriculum. And AI needs to find space in the teacher education programs. We cannot leave it to the teacher as a self-learning module. We have to teach to the students also how to handle it. So this is what I'm trying to tell. And another thing that came up at the turn of the 21st century was that all of us were talking about multilingualism and multiculturalism. Now these two different things. World over, we were talking about multilingual classrooms. World over, we were talking about how to bring in culture into the classroom, how to preserve our traditional values and all of that. Now the bigger question is, how do we balance that? That is the question in front of us. So let me first talk about evolution of AI. It's not something new. It didn't happen only in the 21st century. People were thinking about it, in 1956. John McCarthy. Uh, John McCarthy is known as the father of AI. He started talking about it, that this can happen through computers. And of course, in India also, at that time in 1960s, Professor H.N. Mahabala, he talked about it when he talked about knowledge-based computing systems. And in India in 1986, UNDP started using AI for research and data collection. That is where India started using AI. And our IITs, Indian Institute of Technologies, and our engineering colleges do have AI as a subject. So a lot of research is going on in this area. So like AI means denoting the goal of machines replicating human intelligence. That is what we are looking for. So, but the meaning and the definition has shifted of AI depending on the developers and the funders. That plays an important role. So there are three types of artificial intelligence that we have come across. The first is that ANI, normal intelligence, that is machine learning, that was stage one for all of us, for masses. So specialization in one area, and that solves one problem, like Siri, Alexa, Cortana, so smartphones. So we are comfortable with this. Then comes artificial general intelligence, AGI. Stage two of AI, machine intelligence, refers to a computer that is as smart as a human across the board. But now we are moving towards super intelligence, ASI, that is artificial super intelligence, machine consciousness, and intellect that is much smarter than the best human brains in practicality, every field. Now, here there are two views. Some are afraid of it, that humans, computers cannot take over humans, and how are humans going to manage it? But it is still, it's still not there with us. Okay, so AI across the curriculum. As I told you in the beginning, that AI has been part of various disciplines uh, uh, for quite some time now, like computer science, psychology, philosophy, linguistics, mathematics, medicine, interaction design, and other subjects have been using AI because, handling data, doing research, trying to understand problems through AI help them. And then studying AI as a subject itself can contribute to opportunities for developing media literacy. And then one can conduct projects also around it. Uh, One can conduct projects also around it. Then, when we have all these things in front of us, we all understand about AI. So the role of the teacher is changing. It has to change. Like the teacher must be trained. Now, this calls for professional development of teachers. Now, every teacher has to learn to access the innovative tools to personalize learning, automative administrative tasks, offer real time feedback, pursue collaborations. All these things have to happen. I remember when I was a school teacher, you see, at that time, even computers were not there. We used to do everything manually, and that was so much time taking. Like, for example, attendance. Every day we would mark the attendance of the students, and at the end of the month, calculate everything manually, tell the students how much are you short of your attendance. And same was the case for their performance. We would, record their performance in each and every subject as a class teacher, take out averages, give them the report cards which were manually filled. But now, thank God, we are saved from that. Computer is handling all of that. That's a great saving grace. Then, of course, teachers need to learn how to create interactive lessons using chatbots, simulations, and gamification. And of course, these things have come. Many teachers are using it. And our National Policy of Education 2020 has also talked about gamification, simulations, and chatbots, so that our children are not left behind. They are at par with the world, what's happening across the world. So this calls for teacher development, teacher preparation, not only at the pre-service level, but also at the in-service level. So both pre-service and in-service teachers need to go through this subject to be able to handle it proficiently. Then comes the role of the learners. See, we cannot leave the learners all alone, do it yourself types. Uh, of course, it gives them lot of opportunities, lot of pathways. They can adopt and adapt the learning material, and they can use interactive content. Voice assistants are there to customize, to provide practice inputs, prompts, support in the absence of the teacher. The teacher does not have to be present all the time. So it's very flexible. Students can learn anytime from anywhere, and then it's a boon for the differently abled learners. Their experiences and their learning can be customized and augmented. Then, of course, along with this, we need to transform the roles of schools. Greater digitalization and virtualization of interactions, curriculum design, and assessment. So, all these things have to undergo change. How do we interact with the children via computers? How do they interact with us? Then, curriculum design will change. We need to find space for AI in our curriculum because it's becoming a huge part of our teaching learning process. Then, assessment processes have to change. Of course, assessment of learning will happen without any problem, but so far as assessment for learning is there, as learning can also be managed. But so far as assessment for learning is concerned, there where there is where teachers' input is required, her input is important. So we need to create space for that. Then, of course, classrooms, their nature will change. We will start working through hybrid models that will blur phygital boundaries and collapse distances. That's a great thing. Of course, after COVID-19, things have happened in this manner. But at the same time, we have also felt one thing, that there are students who keep their computer on, but they are not there. That is also happening. How do we manage that? But at the same time, if we see that this is a utopian situation that is there in front of us, I don't think so, because there is dystopia as well. We need to reach the last child uh, in the last village of our country. Have you been able to reach there? Do they have smartphones? Do they have laptops, computers, electricity, internet connection? So it's not utopia, it's dystopia. This needs to be managed, where human intervention is very important. Then socio-technical realities. As I just now talked about, equitable access remains a challenge. And not only in our country, not only in India, I think this is the situation across the world. Across the world. Then of course, biases, inaccuracies. We have also experienced it. Whatever data has been fed into the computer, only that comes in. That may be full of bias. Because somebody was the other day sharing that, one instance only, that, the computer was not responding to colored people or people from that particular region. So such biases, such stereotypes need to be addressed. But when it is a face-to-face classroom, where every child is given a chance to speak, then these biases, these stereotypes are addressed. People learn to respect each other's culture, tradition. There is dialogue. And when there is dialogue, dialogue is very important. When there is no dialogue, there is going to be war. And we have seen it around us. It's happening. It's happening. So dialogue is an important way to come to some kind of understanding. I am not saying we have to come to one point, one consensus. Polyvocality is a great idea, but at least we start understanding the other person's viewpoint. And that can happen when it is face to face. Then another problem that is there is data and privacy. So those who are using, students, teachers, now the data, they become vulnerable by tracking abilities in AI-enabled devices. So a lot of data can be misused, or they are doing research on that data, publishing their papers on the data that you are giving them without being partners. So they have to ask you. So such components should be there in AI, in computers. Well, if they are taking your data, you are partners in the research. Because when we have to do some kind of a research, We take permissions at every step, from our office, then where we are going from that office, from head office, and from the students, from parents. If we want to click some photographs, then permissions are taken. But here, that thing is not there. So we all become vulnerable at one point of time, which is not safe at the moment. Then, of course, as I said, at the turn of the century, we were talking about multiculturalism and multilingualism. Uh, these resources are still underdeveloped and inaccessible. You see, people might say that, data about different cultures, different traditions have been fed into the computers and AI can access that. But no, students' own experiences, their own context, I mean, they are valuable when students are learning. That will help them, connect learning to the real world situations. And these experiences are changing from moment to moment. And a classroom uh, is a living organism, I feel. You see, where there is dialogue, where there is interaction, it's developing. It's developing all the time. So we cannot look at classroom as a dead entity. It's a living organism where everybody is growing together. The life is pulsating over there. But if you are left alone with the computer, that thing is amiss. Then multilingualism. Uh, Maybe AI can handle major languages, but what about minor languages? What about languages of the tribe? In our country, we have many tribal languages. Like in 2011 census, uh, uh, 234 languages were recorded, and in that, less than 10,000 speakers, their languages were not documented over there. But if we start documenting them, they will cross the mark of 1,000. So what about tribal languages? Can we leave them out of our educational sphere? So we are talking about social equity. We are talking about social justice. We are talking about sensitization. And the turn of the century, technology and multilingualism, they both came into educational arena together. So there has to be a kind of a balance between the two. So let's look at socio-technical realities. Uh, then cyberbullying, online harassment protocols need to be implemented and monitored effectively. Who is going to do it? Especially at K to 12 level, teachers have to, uh, prepare the students. Do's and don'ts of media literacy have to be told to the students. So that means we need to make this part of the curriculum. Then if there is less social interaction and over reliance on computers, you see, we stop believing in human race in a way. There is We stop cooperation, that collaboration is not there, that communication is not there. 21st century skills, creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, these are important skills. At the turn of the century, we talked about this. And now also we are talking about 21st century skills. Of course, we can collaborate via mm, mm, internet also, but that's limited in a way. As we were talking before we began with the presentation, that face-to-face interaction has its own charm. It has its own charm. Sorry, I've gone ahead. It has its own it has its own charm, and uh, then we share many ideas. Then there is another issue that I think, what happened? I have gone ahead. Cyberbullying. I was here. So there is less social interaction. Learners' experiences and their context cannot be codified exhaustively in machines. It's not possible because they are, developing minute to minute, moment to moment. And that's what I said, that we should look at our classroom as living organisms. Then what kind of preparedness is required for AI-enabled learning. So now we have looked at these issues and concerns that are in front of us. We need to now prepare ourselves. So far as the learners are concerned, we need to teach them, self-control, questioning, a sense of responsibility has to be inculcated in them. They just cannot go to any site. A sense of responsibility. They must know their limit. Then testing their learning, making decisions, implementation, and self-orientation. So we are expecting a lot from the students. A lot from the students. Then if schools undertake all the planning, so then timing, evaluation, learning these skills, and then these have to be developed among the learners. So in the timetable, this schedule has to be added. Furthermore, several TESOL learners do not have the digital literacy skills that can motivate this degree of preparedness. This is the recent research by Bozeville, and it says, as I said just now, that in our country there is a divide, but it's there everywhere, and it has been documented. So how do we address that? We cannot do it for a handful of students. Education is for everyone. Then, of course, teachers, they need to determine how much time they have to allocate for AI learning, because it has to become part of the curriculum now. Now, meaningful learning goals have to be set up so that AI will involve learners building their knowledge, cognitive processes, so that they can learn how to use AI in a responsible manner. Now, learning spaces, as that was one of the issues which I highlighted. So teachers need to open up spaces for in-depth inquiry and resist any homogenization, so that learners also develop the necessary skills to negotiate opposing points of views or conflicts in everyday life. So, this involves creating the right psychosocial learning environment. And it cannot happen with machines. Now, psychosocial learning environment means when in a classroom, learners' experiences and their context become part of the classroom process. So they feel accepted, socially accepted. And psychologically, it gives them the confidence that I can talk about it. I can, share my views in this social setup. Then motivation and metacognition. Once their views, their ideas become part of the classroom discourse, metacognition leads to motivation. And once they are motivated learners, they take interest in their learning process. And that is how they become self-learners. Then this calls for quality educational design. So one step leads to another. So these are the things one has to keep in mind, and which probably AI cannot offer. Only teachers can do it. AI and the language classroom. Now, education is shaped by the cultural experiences and attitudes of learners and teachers. Yes, it's very important. There should be an interaction among students, between the teacher and the students. Then only you have a wider worldview. Maybe you can do it via internet, via Zoom, but it does not have that kind of impact. Some students still may remain silent. Teacher cannot, ask them to present their views. But in the classroom, you can have that kind of an environment where everyone is motivated. Metacognition and motivation, they go hand in hand. Then, of course, we all know about multiple Englishes, world Englishes, and multilingual resources. Now, what we can, in computer, we can put examples of world Englishes, right? Different pronunciations, different way of saying it. But within a nation state, there are different states which have their own mother tongue. That influence is going to be there. And India is an example. Every state has its own language, and its influence is seen on English. So far as pronunciation is concerned. And when it comes to assessing speaking, which is an important, competency, uh, maybe AI cannot, have all the accents and cannot assess them so well. And at the same time, while we are speaking, we teach our students that your facial expression, your body language, your pauses, they play an important role in conveying the meaning. But that will be missed out totally if we leave it to the computer, right? And that applies to writing as well. These days, we are giving tasks to the students, especially at the senior level. Students are taking it from Chat GPT and completing their assessments. Okay, that is not Chat GPT, that is cheating, I would call it. They have simply copied it from there and given it to you. But so far as writing is concerned, it is a process. We need to tell the students that if you go to computer, you go to AI, research about that topic, that theme, that idea, note down the points, read different articles, put them as references, annotate them, and then write your own piece. So all these steps are missed, because I always tell my students that whenever you are using any reference, I don't want plain and simple references. I want annotated references, so that it's clear that you have read that article, that annotation is there in front of me. Therefore, you are referring it to over there. So they have to read the article carefully, annotate it, and then probably they can use it as a reference in the work that they are writing. So that is important for academic writing. So far as speaking and writing are concerned, that is our output competencies. We cannot depend on AI totally. And so far as our listening and reading competencies are concerned, these are input competencies. Maybe we can depend on the computer. We can depend on AI. Different resources will come. But who will check the resources? Is it as per the level, age, and interest of the students? So therefore, the teacher has to play a proactive role over here. Now, we need to conduct research, applied research, action research, before we design, an innovative structure. Offhand, we cannot do anything. So real world relevance should be measured. We cannot depend on commercial metrics of speed and scale. Not possible, because learners are learning at different levels, and teachers need to be independent and proactive learners in their own media literacy and competency journeys. So before I conclude it, I would like to say that, science fiction writers like Isaac Asimov talked about, computers, uh, about 3 laws of robotics. In 1951, he came out with a Foundation trilogy. Foundation 1951, Foundation and Empire 1952, Second Foundation 1953. In that, he's given 3 laws, a moral code to keep our machines in check. And the 3 laws of robotics are: a robot may not injure a human being. Injure, you can interpret it in any way, or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. The second law: a robot must obey orders given by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And the third: a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first and the second law. And this was given by Isaac Asimov in 1950s. This is science fiction. And of course, science fiction writers probably had a great vision. I have read Ray Bradbury also. Ray Bradbury is The Pedestrian. It's a beautiful story. And the roads are empty. One pedestrian is going, and everybody is busy on their big screen TVs, their computers. No one has time for the other person to talk to. So we are coming to that stage very soon. We need to check ourselves. There is another thing which I would like to share with you, and this is my last slide. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire, attributed to W.B. Yeats. I will read it out for you, and then we'll try to address this issue. This came in the Irish Times, Robert Strong. It says, search for the source. Search for the source. Later, I Googled the quote. All kinds of web pages popped up. It's very popular sentence. One can buy a poster with Yeats' words in large type to decorate your classroom. You can find a photograph of a school lobby where the quote is embossed on the wall. One link was to a site titled something like "What to Say If You Have to Give a Commencement Address." A site called Quote Investigator speculated that a book that contained juxtaposed quotes from Yeats and Plutarch led someone to accidentally attribute a version of the Plutarch line with vessels and fires to the Irish poet instead of the Greek writer. So we need to check our sources also very well. If and when I ever address students at a commencement, I plan to use the quote and account for the problematic sourcing. Then I can offer some advice that is becoming even more important when so much is instantly available and seemingly authoritatively. Don't believe everything you hear from a speaker standing at a podium. Don't believe what you read in books. Always be suspicious of information you find on the internet. Do your own research about something that strikes your fancy. Take some joy in finding things out for yourself. Even if what you find is complicated, pursue the truth wherever it takes you. And don't be afraid to challenge prominent people and publish sources if you find it might be wrong. Education is not filling of a pail, but lighting of a fire. A famous poet may not know who did it, but it is true. So that's what I was saying, that our sources we need to check. We need to tell our students that whatever we get from the computers may not be always the right thing. So we need to check it. So therefore, the role of libraries has come in once again. Okay, with this, I have come to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much. These are some of the references, and thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kapur. That was absolutely wonderful. I think that we all have a lot to think about now as our students navigate ChatGPT and that we have AI coming into our classrooms. I'd like to open up the floor now for any questions that people may have for Dr. Kapur. Feel free to add those to the chat or to unmute yourself and ask your question yourself. And Val and the Literacy Council of Reading's Berks, feel free to unmute yourselves. Anyone can ask a question.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, we will.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
If you have any points to share with me, even that are welcome.
One thing that comes to my mind is over the summer, I was teaching a public speaking class. And these were, this was a mainstream course at Drexel where I teach. And the students had to do a persuasive speech. And one of the groups did a persuasive speech on why you should not use artwork created by AI. And it made me think of something in your presentation. They said, when AI gets artwork, it's not designing the artwork itself. It's pulling from multiple sources of art that already exists and kind of reassembling it in a new way. Then if you put that out there in your own work and you either don't cite it or you just cite the AI bot that made it, you're not giving credit to the original source, the original artists that created this, and there's no way for you to find that out. So they argue that there's no ethical way to use AI art.
Yes.
We have a question from Angus that I'm going to read. He says, Dr. Kapur, could you please comment on the balance between student-to-student time, teacher-student time, and online time? Can you suggest a balance of these during classes and in other learning situations, in particular as it relates to ESL instruction?
Yes, thank you so much for this wonderful question. And I think we have been, thinking about this question time and again. You see, gone are the days when it was 20/80, means 80% teacher time and 20% student time. Now we say it should be a learner centered, more time for the students, 80% for the students and 20% only for the teachers, because teacher is just a facilitator. She is the manager of the class. She or he is the manager of the class. She only organizes activities or tasks or debates, but rest of the work is done by the students. Therefore, our tasks and our activities and our discussions need to be designed in such a manner that students take part. They do their own research. We have to provide them that time. Out of that 80%, you can give 40% for their personal research. Suppose you are going to have a discussion or a debate in the class, give them time to research. Go to the library, find it on the computer, make notes, and then come back to the class and have a debate. So it is now 80%. Now online we are all going in for hybrid models. It varies from school to school actually, and also it varies from situation to situation. Like I told you, in India, like if I go to the villages, the remote villages, I think it's only traditional, or that online classes are, children don't have smartphones, children don't have computers or laptops, no internet connection, sometimes even electricity is not there. So more of teacher interaction, but there also teacher gives students time to speak, time to come out with their ideas. So nowadays we feel that more time is to be given to the learners, to the students, so that they end up becoming self-learners, so that they get into the habit of self-assessment. Because when they bring in material and listen from others, so they can think, oh, even I could have done that. So that sentence, even I could have done that, is an assessment. The child has assessed, okay, I'm capable of doing it, I missed out on this point, maybe next time that child will do. So that is it. It doesn't have a very definite, yes or no, black and white answer. It varies from situation to situation, but one answer is that, give more time to the learners, students. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kapur.
And we grapple with this question every now and then with our teachers, with our schools. That's a very valid question. Beautiful.
And Val, would you like to read the question from the Literacy Council?
Yes, this is a question from one of our group members here. Dr. Kapur, could you just talk a little bit concretely about what are the most common AI tools that students are using? And I know it sounds like you're focusing on K-12 and the curriculum kind of nationally, but we do have folks here that are K-12. We have some folks who are on the adult education side. So could you just comment generally on the most common AI tools that students are using and that we as teachers should be familiar with?
We at NCRT, we have our own Central Institute of Educational Technology. We have our own portals. So here in India, we encourage teachers to use that. We have e-Diksha, we have e-Pathshala, we have all these resources and online materials. We have YouTube, NCRT official. So we have created our own, and we encourage teachers to use these resources, because then they are safe. They have been developed by experts, and they have been vetted by experts, and we are sure that as you said, that some materials are for adults and all of that, they will not come across any such material. So we have many channels also that we are running. So we have developed our own. So that is how we are dealing with it. But so far as they are available in public on the internet, that I think teachers have to find out on their own, sort it out on their own, which is the most applicable. I mean, I have to leave to the person concerned, their situation.
Are the ones that you're using, that you developed, are they available freely on the internet, or are they proprietary?
They are available for all the users. You can also go to NCERT official, you can go to eDiksha, you can go to ePathshala. I can share the list with you. And then
That would
we
be
have
amazing.
recorded lessons, and I mean, all these things, we develop our own content.
That would be amazing. We would
And
love
we
to
have
have.
radio recordings, we have television recordings, we give live, even now we give live lessons to our students in all the subject areas. So we have been able to manage it in this way. Then of course, if we want to have online classes, then Google Classroom is there. Then if we go to different learning tools, learning vocabulary, learning grammar, they are available. I don't remember the names offhand, but you go to the internet, you will find many, and they're all safe. And they're all safe. But in India, we are doing our own.
I have a question for you. So, we're all facing the situation where our students are more interested sometimes in getting the top grade rather than writing their own work. And so some people have turned to ChatGPT to write their entire essay for them. And, one thing that came up in our office just this past Thursday was, to what degree do we want them to use it? Sometimes if you're generating ideas, we say, okay, generating ideas is great. But sometimes students are coming up with their point of view or their main claims through ChatGPT rather than research. Do you have any advice on where the line should be in your view, and what we as teachers can do to facilitate that?
Yeah. For this, as I have already said, that whatever they refer to, ask them to annotate. So that will make sure that they have gone through, and then they have come to, this is my viewpoint. Okay. So when they start annotating it, they're reading. Our purpose is so that they read. The more they read, better they will be able to write better. Good readers become good writers. There are no two ways about it. How do creative writers write? They observe life around them, they read a lot, and then they look at minute details and they start writing. Their reading, their observation flowers into a beautiful piece of writing. So that's the way writing is.
I think that's a great suggestion, because when they annotate and they have ideas, and then they go on to ChatGPT and say, write me an essay, then you as the teacher say, that's not what you were working on when you were annotating.
Most of the teachers are facing this problem. It's happening. Here in India also it's happening. But we need to be smarter than them, or give them open-ended questions. My suggestion is, don't give them closed questions. Closed questions means AI can give them ready-made answers. But when it is an open-ended question or a piece of writing where they have to give their own opinion, their own experience, their own culture, their own tradition, their own context, they will have to write on their own. So open-ended questions are better than closed-ended questions.
That's great advice. We have another question coming from my colleague Shanae, and she asks, have you run into any issues working with AI tools with different Englishes, and how did you handle it?
Personally, I have not, but researchers have shown that these issues are there. There are many researches. They are available on the internet, otherwise also, that these issues do crop up. And otherwise also, even if we don't talk about AI, different Englishes, we have to be sort of understanding towards that. We need to create space for different Englishes. Right? We cannot say that, only British or American or Australian English is there. There is Indian English, there is, Korean English, there's Chinese English, there are all kinds of Englishes. I have not come across any issue on AI, but I have read researches about it. Yeah, because I myself did not explore it. I've read the researches only, and I have heard the experiences of teachers and researchers.
Thank you. I'd like
Thank
to invite Tak to unmute and let us know what your comment is.
Hi, thanks. First of all, I wanted to thank you, Dr. Kapur, for your cautionary tale. I think I've attended quite a few seminars and webinars on the topic of AI, and a lot of it is very do this, don't do that. But you've given us a bigger picture and invited us to think about things in a way that I think will help us in all of the navigation of the smaller things, which is really important. And so thank you, and thank you for your research, for sharing it with us. I teach sorry, my nickname is up there. I guess I'm using for internal purposes Zoom lately, but I'm Kathleen Teklasky, and I teach at Lebanon Valley College out here in central Pennsylvania, and I mostly teach Spanish. And the best thing that I've used ChatGPT for so far is to have it write for my syllabus why students should not use ChatGPT. And of course, I altered it after it came out, but I told my students that I did that. And on the first day of class, I told my students, wow, I'm excited about ChatGPT. I've been using it for all kinds of things. How about you? And they looked at me like, oh no, she wants us to confess what we're using it for. And I think in this conversation, what I'm starting to think about is that sometimes we think of ChatGPT, or I think of ChatGPT as the enemy, like students must not use. And sometimes we think of it as my best friend because it helps me think of some creative alternatives to the final exam in Spanish 101 or something. So I tell my students, and I told them, I had ChatGPT write the paragraph I'm going to ask you to write in a few weeks. And it came up so great. It was never anything you would write. And then I said, no, but write it like a Spanish 101 student would. And then it came up with something bizarre that these are not errors you would make. Maybe ChatGPT will get better at these kinds of things. I don't know, but random use of verbs that aren't conjugated and stuff like that. So I just came right out and told them, I know what you're about. I'm about it too. Let's see how we can use ChatGPT together. Like, let's look at your paragraph. Let's look at that paragraph and say, how are these things different? And just kind of come out with it like, what are you doing with ChatGPT? And I'll tell you what I'm doing, and then see how we can learn together from ChatGPT. And just yesterday, I said, when you're studying for the quiz, use ChatGPT to quiz you.
Yeah.
Because, and you can add a like an add-on to have it talk to you, like ChatGPT to talk on Chrome. And then you can get it to say, like, quiz me on, you say the numbers and I will write them down in Spanish or English, whatever. So I think we can support students' use of ChatGPT, but as you have so carefully said, we need to monitor, do a lot of monitoring.
Yeah, you got it right. Yes, I agree with you. There's no harm in using it because spell check, grammar check, it does help us. Sometimes we also use it if I want to check the grammar, but we have to monitor it. That's the whole idea. Thank you so much.
I love that comment because I myself, I'm learning Finnish right now, and there's not a whole lot of great materials out there. And so I have asked ChatGPT to write me some, graded reader stories. And I've had my native speaking Finnish friend check over them, and he says it's kind of natural. But I've asked it to write at the A1 plus level. So how natural could it possibly be? We have time for, I think, just one more question or comment before we close, if anyone would like to unmute or put a question in the chat.
Oh yeah, Bill, we have a question. This is Edvard.
Hello. I think we've talked a lot about how GPT or AI, I don't like to say ChatGPT because there's many AI tools, helps the student. But I was a little frustrated when a doctor mentioned that we do our own research and it's up to teachers. I think I spent too much time preparing for class and then grading. I would like to know or hear the comments of how ChatGPT, again, AI, helps us do a better job and quicker. and faster, so we can increase our productivity. Thank you.
Yes. As I shared with you that, lot of manual works can be given to the computer, right? And if I want to generate a list of topics, I want to have a variety of topics. Or we can ask ChatGPT or AI to give us number of topics on this particular theme. And I give those topics to the students. Then the element of choice comes in, because we have to teach our students to make choices, because life is nothing but making the right choice. So different topics are there. Their theme is the same. Ask them to choose, so we can use it for our benefit, for our students' benefit, and they choose the topic. Because in life, we have to make choices every now and then. Checking spellings, as I said, checking grammar, but we cannot depend on it totally. Or even if we want to put it in the curriculum, we have to do research. We have to decide that how much of it has to come in it. We cannot do anything at random. It has to be decided at the administration or policy level.
All right. Thank you so much. This has been really informative, and you gave me some ideas to think about as I continue to talk to my class about using AI, ChatGPT, and the other tools that are out there. Thank you so much for the audience for attending on a Saturday morning. And a special thanks also to Barb Aris for writing the review. I hope you'll join us on November 11th when Barb is here talking about brainstorming. And of course, my biggest thanks to Dr. Kirti Kapur for this lovely presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And we hope to see everyone.
Thank you.
We hope to see everyone at the conference on November 4th and back here again on November 11th. Have a great weekend, everyone.